talk about yourself? I think you forgot to talk about yourself. And you guys have all been sitting for about an hour now, so can I give them like a 2-minute stretch break or what? No? No stretch break? Okay. I wanted to. All right. All right, so I am on a time limit, so I will address this quickly. Walter and Sabine, can you let me know if you can't hear me? Okay. All right, so just wave your arms frantically or something. So there were 3 things that Marge has asked us to address here today, or asked me to address, and the others will have their turn later. What are my qualifications to be taking on the role or applying for the job that I'm applying for? What is my involvement in Richmond Hill? And what is my vision for Richmond Hill? I'm going to blow through that, answer all those 3 questions, and then if I've got a little bit of time left at the end, I'm going to address some 4 challenges that I've heard during my campaign process that I want to address and just clear the air. So, what are my qualifications to represent you? So ask yourself, what are the qualifications you're looking for in an MP? I would bet that I'll get a different answer from every single one of you. Okay? I looked it up online. I said, what are the qualifications for an MP in Canada? Very little came back. The only thing that came back that was interesting was that there were 5 new MPs that came in 2011 that had never had a job of any kind whatsoever before. Okay? So, without a definitive statement of qualifications, I said, well, maybe I should go look at the other people that are being MPs. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. If I'm trying to bring about change, do I want to have the same qualifications as every other MP that's ever been out there? So I did go and I met with some people. I met with Kostas Managakis, I met with Brian Wolford, I met with Maurizio Bevilacqua. Those are the last 3 MPs that have been representing this town. They all have very different backgrounds. So I'm going to change that a little bit to say, what is it that makes me think that I can contribute here in Richmond Hill? I made a commitment in 2011 when I entered politics as a candidate to participate fully and to be in public service for the next 45 years. Okay? Some key accomplishments and some highlights of my life. So, I graduated University of Waterloo. I was first in my class with a double major in mathematics. I did some studies at the master level while I was there, and then I applied for and was accepted to a PhD program before I ultimately decided to leave academia and find my path forward in business. In business, I started early, moved up fairly quickly. A couple of highlights there. I was a President's Club member when I was with SAP Canada, which is a pretty prestigious thing, and that was for excellence in client service. That's about listening and finding solutions that clients can use. I actually missed that weekend because it was a sort of a weekend schmooze fest with the senior brass in Las Vegas. Couldn't go to it because my father was undergoing emergency surgery, and I needed to be with him and my mother at that time. That wasn't necessarily looked upon all that favorably by my management, that I would actually miss President's Club. Sometimes doing what's right is not the same as doing what's popular. And so, of note about that as well, that's also when I began giving blood on a regular basis. It was right after that surgery of my father's, and I gave my 50th a couple weeks ago. In 2003, I moved into the world of freedom and created my own business, and it's been growing ever since. I think that there's a lot more to hiring an MP than looking at their resume, so I also want to give you some key points in my life that might tell you a little bit about me. 1985, I'm living at York University residence with a number of 20-somethings, and we're spending every evening together bonding. When our friend Rob has a horrific accident and breaks his neck, I spend the next 2 years visiting him in hospital and ultimately living with him when he returns to university in a wheelchair. Rob's positive mental attitude from day one, both after the accident, is truly inspiring. He and his wife Caroline and their 2 sons live happily in Southern California, and he's a personal investment banker. In 1987, I meet my wife Carol. Her friendship and our team-based partnership is the source of all the strength in my career and my ability to deliver service to the public. This campaign is as much a demonstration of her commitment to this community as it is of mine. 1997, our son Jacob is born, so I know that no matter what happens from here on out, my life has had some meaning. Later, my daughters Elizabeth and Sylvia are born. I take paternity leave time to care for each of our children at the end of my wife's maternity leave. And there really are no words to describe how much a parent loves their child. But let me say that I spoke to Sylvia's caregiver, who normally votes conservative. She told me that she would vote for me because she knows what kind of man I am by the way that I act when I pick up my kids. Sorry, Michael. All right, continuing on. 2005, my father dies after a 5-year experience with cancer. As a family doctor, he received hundreds of letters upon his hasty retirement thanking him for being who he was for his patients. I'm immensely proud of my dad, and I dedicate my public service to him on a daily basis. Because of the example he set for me, I simply cannot do politics the way we too often see it done. Straight up, transparent, and honest is the only path for me. I'm very proud of my mother as well, and I love her deeply. She is a counselor in Owen Sound. Her example of volunteerism to her community surrounded me as I grew up, and I am impressed by those who build community as an act of unconditional love. Which leads me to my involvement in Richmond Hill. I'm going to start by listing paying my taxes as a key contribution to this community. Okay? Public servants who show long resumes of accomplishments that are achieved while deriving income from our taxes deserve to be proud of what they have done, but should never forget that their work is paid for by the efforts of others. It is fair and just for you as taxpayers to expect your elected politicians to be involved in boards, committees, events, etc. These are key components of public service. I have raised 3 kids here. That means countless hours at hockey practices, hockey games, more than 10 hours a week in a gym for my son, 5 or more hours on the soccer field for both of my daughters, team sponsorships for each of their teams. I've coached softball, I've coached soccer, I've provided support to my wife as she has now coached every single age group in the Richmond Hill Soccer Club. I've created jobs here. My company Answers for Business employs 6 directly, and there's been over 100 contractors that have taken contract work over the last 11 years with my firm, most of whom live in York Region, many of whom live in Richmond Hill. Other involvement, I'm the co-founder of the Richmond Hill Bridge Club. I'm on the advisory board at the Richmond Hill Philharmonic. I'm on the board at Shadow Path. I'm a volunteer at the Richmond Hill United Church. I'm a member at the Richmond Hill Chamber of Commerce. Volunteered under the Government Affairs Committee there. I'm a member of both the Richmond Hill Horticultural and Historical Societies. I play slow pitch in 2 Richmond Hill leagues. I'm a member of the Francophone Toastmasters. That's where we do it in French. Okay? And I've addressed town council regarding park space. I've petitioned the town regarding community housing complex that's being built up here. I've raised money for that, for the 360 Kids piece of it. And I've written numerous letters that have been published to the editor about economic, environmental, and public trust concerns. How are we doing? Okay. My vision. I'm going to let others try to bring change to Richmond Hill. I prefer to keep a lot of the strengths that we already have here intact. And I'm going to focus on changing Ottawa's approach and realigning Canada's positions better to the more than 60% of the voters who did not support Stephen Harper's agenda in the last federal election. But there are some things around town that I think we can do better. Justin asked, what does a Canadian look like? I think we can lead the way here by answering that there is no longer a template. It's better to ask, what are our common Canadian values? And let's ensure that peace, inclusiveness, and caring are among all of those. Okay? We're a key part of a significant GTA economy, but we need to be able to get around faster. So yes to public transit, and yes to Subway to Yonge and 7. Youth and seniors should be able to afford to live in Richmond Hill. So yes to pension improvements at the federal level, and yes to tuition and student debt relief, and yes to the Liberal National Affordable Housing Strategy. We care about each other, so let's strengthen Canada's public health commitment to mental health. Okay? This indicator of societal stress too often coincides with the pain of poverty, with the path to poverty and homelessness, and improving care for mental health can be a key part of Canada's human resources strategy. And finally, let's realize full equal pay for work of equal value. My mother is a feminist, my wife is a feminist, and I am a feminist. Women and men are equal, and our roles and potential in society are not determined by our gender. Government policy and legal enforcement must stand up for this important Canadian value. So, we're out. So I'm just going to do one more. All right, so the Liberal parties, or the Liberal members in this community have a choice to make, and it's not too late. You can still sign up and you can be part of that choice. Okay, I'm available to you. I want to serve you. I will have your back. I will not be in your face. Okay, I'm a representative who's of the people, and I know that it is up to you how far I go and how I serve. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much, Brian. I know from doing Toastmasters, it's not easy to do that here. I think you did it well with constraints and would have liked to have talked to us more. But please talk to Brian. If you have a group, a church group, a book club, whatever, invite Brian and Michael or whatever. Invite politicians to come and talk to you, okay? Talk politics is it. So I know all of us want to have a chance to talk a little more, maybe have